Hi everyone. Saving lives of people in distress, whether at sea or on land, is known to be necessary um, and important, the right thing to do. But in Europe, many humanitarian workers who rescued lives of refugees and showed solidarity with them are now facing criminal charges in many countries in courts. Among them is Sean Bider, who worked for an NGO in Greece between 2017 2018, and Sean is with me today. Thank you very much for being with us, Sean.
It's a
Welcome.
pleasure. Thank you.
Sean, you spent, I mean, you had these criminal charges in 2018, and they arrested you. You spent 100 days in jail in Greece after being charged, and together with someone I believe our viewers also know very well, thanks to a Netflix film about her story, Sara Mardini. So you work together in this NGO with Sarah, I suppose, and also you are being charged with uh, you, Sarah, and 22 others. Is it right?
That's right. Exactly. Yes. So Sarah and I are good friends, and we both volunteered for the same Greek organization called Emergency Response Center International, alongside NASA's Karakitsos, a colleague of mine and a Greek national. And we
Yeah, let
worked,
me put your picture together.
there we are, a little bit younger.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sarah and I were arrested in 2018, and we were eventually charged with very, very serious crimes. And these include, for example, facilitating illegal entry, being part of a criminal organization, money laundering, forgery, the illegal use of radio frequencies, fraud, and my personal childhood dream come true, spying. If we're found guilty of any of these crimes, we will spend more than 20 years imprisoned. And we already spent 3.5 months in pretrial detention. Now, I think the most important thing to remember about this case is that while we are 24, which is actually already a huge number, I am only involved in one prosecution, but there are many prosecutions across the European Union that have criminalized many, many other people for doing only what the European laws demand that we do.
I would like to ask about all of these charges together, but if we go back to your story, it's been 4 years since you have been charged, and I think on January 10th will be the second court hearing, isn't it so? I mean, 4 years is a long time, and so they keep you in limbo, and your organization cannot work. I suppose in between these 4 years. So why it takes so slow for Greek authorities to charge
Yeah,
you if
Sheen,
they want?
you. Mhm. You would think that if I am the very serious mastermind criminal who organized smuggling and spied, that the authorities would want me behind bars as quickly as possible. And if they had evidence that I was doing any of these things, then you would think they would bring the trial as quickly as possible. The fact is that we've been waiting for years and years because I think the authorities are not confident, because they know that when they accuse me of spying, that what they say I've done is used WhatsApp, and that no court will accept that because I used WhatsApp, I'm a spy. And they say that I am a smuggler. They say that on 12 occasions I facilitated illegal entry. But they will know that the court won't accept this because for more than half of those, I was never in Greece. And for the rest of them, we can prove that I always communicated with the authorities. And so
Sean,
all of the charges are empty.
Sean, in Turkey, many of us are very familiar with bogus charges, Trump up charges due to political situation in Turkey. So we can understand. But also, I think um, keeping you, even why then they don't drop it, or why they don't acquit you. It looks like, I think, keeping you in limbo, making your organization not being able to work perfectly works, because it makes solidarity a criminal offense, but without saying so. Because if European Union, a court in European Union, which is the, which we know, especially in this part of the world, for example, in Turkey, think that, oh, they have these values that we have to, get close to those values in our country as well. uh, if they charge you, it would be, something else. But now, keeping you as such, having these, court issues and criminalizations and accusations without having results, could work better. What do you think?
I completely agree with that. The fact is that I'm not asking the European member states of the Union to do something particularly utopian or naive. I'm asking the EU to follow its own laws, its own values. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights suggests that, and in fact protects everyone's right to seek asylum. The European Convention on Human Rights protects the right to life. The Facilitation Directive of 2002 protects the humanitarian work that needs to be done to save people in distress. All I ask is that we apply them, apply the law. And I think this is what a court would do. And that's why, as you say, we are not getting to court. We have to wait years and years and years, because as soon as we're found innocent, then all of the people that have been scared away from doing search and rescue, and indeed on Lesbos, everyone has been scared away from doing search and rescue, they'll return because they'll know that their work is right. And that's what the prosecution is trying to stop. This, in short, has been a chilling effect on humanitarianism in Europe.
Sean, what made you go to Lesbos, Greece, to help the refugees was that in year 2015, so many refugees using sea or land via Turkey tried to go to Europe. And at the time, it was so many people, so that the deaths were much more seen on sea. I mean, pictured, and there were journalists, NGOs trying to help them, so many of them.
Mhm.
And so you had the urge to go and help, which is very human and which is very European, I suppose, in a way, if European Union holds the values that they say they hold. But in between those years, I mean, after, the year 2018, your time, you're being criminalized or accused. 1 year before, there were two German captains which were very famous in Turkey and in all around the world, Pierre Klemp and Karol Rakete. They were trying to rescue refugees on Mediterranean, and they were being charged in Italy. Also, their I think lawsuits are, in limbo without any new court hearings or something. We don't know. So many NGOs in between these years, I mean, till now, hampered. Their work are hampered by these court um, filings and, these legal issues. So, and in between those years, we see that for Frontex and the authorities, European authorities in the frontier countries in Europe, began to use much more force. For example, we know that there are pushbacks, but we cannot hear them that much because there are no NGOs or journalists, because they have to go to the courts all the time and they cannot keep doing their work. Could you a little bit comment on that?
Yeah, no, I think that is exactly the trajectory that we have seen. I mean, it's important to start, 2014 and 15, the European Union's response, or Europe's response, was via a humanitarian imperative. So, for example, Operation Mare Nostrum in Italy is praiseworthy because it focused on saving lives, which is, of course, the core matter. And that was then replaced by a Frontex operation, which now viewed this problem as an issue of smuggling. So we secured our border rather than offering a humanitarian response to this issue. And in securing our border, we effectively recharacterize the entire humanitarian catastrophe as a so-called smuggling or security issue. And as soon as that happened, we were able to deploy a new set of policies where we now try to criminalize anything that happens at our borders, where we try to push back undeserving migrants. There's a subtle shift that happens. You know, the most legally accurate term for people crossing the border is asylum seeker or refugee. And that brings all the baggage or all the responsibility that it should, helping, being open, facilitating that they can reach protection and safety. But now we can say migrant, because an illegal activity, we can now use other words like migrant, illegal migrant, terrorist, someone who's unworthy of support. And this is why I think we've seen this operation of pushbacks, of viewing this as a smuggling issue. It's terrifying, but it's also deeply counterproductive. If you were truly interested in stopping smuggling, then you wouldn't arrest people like myself and try to ensure that there is no safe way of seeking asylum. You would offer a safe route to seeking asylum, because the only way that you can stop smuggling is by ensuring that there's a way other than via smuggling to avail of your human right to seeking asylum. And so, ironically, the European policies that try to stop smuggling right now are exactly what creates the smuggling industry at Europe's border that it so desperately tries to stop. And I should say, I agree. I mean, I have, more than most people, seen the horrendous conditions and the awful way in which smugglers treat human beings. And I think we should stop it. I don't agree with smuggling, but to do so, we need a safe pathway to availing of your fundamental human right and to respect the law.
One question about Turkey's role. We know that our government had many times instrumentalized the refugees in Turkey as in its dealings with European Union, and the borders were always used as, weapons. We can open it, we can harm more. Refugees kind of attitude, and also, Turkey is the third country which European Union seems to like to have a deal with, because Europe seems to have um, send these refugees or control these refugees in third countries, not inside Europe. So, what could you say? What did you see? What did you learn when you work in Greece and during these the last 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that, it's telling that the European Union doesn't. One of the reasons given for not admitting Turkey into the EU is that its human rights record is appalling, and its democratic adherence is not sufficient for entry into the EU. And then it's interesting that at the same time, the EU is willing to make third country arrangements with countries like Turkey and also Libya, which is an even more extreme example, saying that, well, in fact, it is safe to return people to those places. That's just obviously hypocritical. I mean, verifiably, Turkey is not a safe third country if its human rights record is as bad as the EU says it is. And the fact that asylum seekers are instrumentalized for realpolitik or political aims by the Turkish government suggests or proves that it is not a safe third country. At the same time, the argument holds even stronger in Libya. And yet the European Union is willing to send people back. This is just an example of how the people who are most vulnerable continue to be instrumentalized and weaponized by Turkey, by Libya, by others, and indeed by Europe. If we're not willing to respect their fundamental human rights, then we're also instrumentalizing, or at least not respecting, those individuals.
Last question. Do you think European Union's attitude towards refugee crisis, using these measures, like without recognizing the rights of refugees, asylum seekers, as well as criminalizing the people who show solidarity with them, is Europe losing its own, I mean, values or its own identity? Do you think why we have more fascist governments now in Europe, or parties, or far right is rising? Are they related? Do you think so?
I think that the rise of far-right parties seems the antithesis of our collective so-called European values of peace and of justice. I think that the reason that they have risen is out of fear. It is a response to fear, and I hope that we can respond to that fear, and I want to respond to people's fear by offering real solutions to them. Locking our border down, criminalizing, dividing and ruling, these are not the answers to our problems. The answers to our problems are to respect the rule of law, are to respect the rights of all individuals, are to strive for a just and fair society. And so the solutions being peddled by the rise of the right, they're not solutions. And they're not going to do anybody any favors. And the real cost, of course, is human lives. The more they rise, the deeper, unfortunately, asylum seekers will sink. And that is deadly. But for me, I haven't lost hope in European values. I continue to work with a tremendous amount of people. I think most people agree that people shouldn't drown. Most people agree that it doesn't matter whether you're on the right or the left of the political spectrum. People shouldn't be drowning. I am one of very, very many people.
Thank you so much, Roland.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.